Everybody. Thank you for joining today. Today we're going to be covering financial reporting capability inside the CourtReserve platform. I am Tim Owens. I'm joined on the call or the webinar today by my wife and co-founder Ashley. If you for those that are first timers on our webinars, all participants are going to be in listen only mode for most of the duration of the webinar, sorry. We do encourage you though to ask questions in the Q&A section of your Zoom toolbar. You should see that. We'll try to get through as many of those as we can at the end of the webinar. If we don't get to your question live, which we should, we'll send an email response with an answer or explanation. So we're going to get started. A little bit about our webinar agenda and what we're going to cover today. We're going to start by talking about revenue categories. Then we'll move into an overview of some of the different financial reports in CourtReserve. I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to get to some specific financial data inside the platform. And then I will end with point of sale reports. Okay. So I'm just going to jump over now to the CourtReserve app and jump right in. So all of the financial reporting is under transactions. It's not under reports. That always gets people. So they automatically go to reports and say, hey, where's my financial information? Since certain sub-administrators can have access to transaction reports or not, we decided to keep all of our financial reporting underneath this area. So just keep that in mind. If you're new to the platform and you're on the webinar and you're having trouble finding the transaction reporting, it's under transactions. So we're just going to walk through this list in order. I'm going to start with the transaction list report. Now, the best way I can describe this report is this is where you go for detail. Okay, so this is the one report that's going to give you the most information as far as details. It's like your detailed sales journal or detailed general ledger. This is going to give you information such as when the transaction was posted, the type of transaction that was posted, the amount, if it was paid or unpaid, if it was paid, what the pay date was, what the payment type was, who took that payment on the system side. So the user is the system user that took the payment. And then the member is the member account that the payment or fee was associated with. The category is, if it was a reservation, if it was an event, what the name of that event was, if it was an invoice, any instructors, and then certain actions are available for certain transaction types. So I have up here in my save filters, I have a couple for time. This is always a good idea for financial reporting to take advantage of these filtering options and save your favorite filters up here in the top right. It allows for you to have quick access to those filters so that you don't have to come back in and set all this up or remember how to set it up. And it provides consistency across all of your administrators to just know that they can come in here. And if I want to see my weekly sales by payments, I can just simply click load here, and it's going to reload all of this data and then allow me to see now this is my weekly sales by week. And it's keying off payments. So you can see it preloads the payment transaction type, sets the date for that week that I was looking at, sets the show only paid transactions because I only want to see things that are paid. And now I can walk through that financial data based on my filter. Now, you can always change it, modify it. So as you can see, if I wanted to see this week, I can jump over to say this week and refilter. And so you can now see my payments jumped from 11/23 to 11/29. And then I can use my arrow keys here to then jump week to week. So that's last week, that's the week before. I can do the same thing for month. I can go to the month of November. So here's all my payments that I took in November. And then I can walk through going backwards or forwards to get to month to month. Okay. And so I have a couple other ones that I'll show here. If I go here, say filters, You can see here, this is all around payments. If I wanted to see, let's say I wanted to look at my total or weekly revenue, which then I can say, I want to load this one. Now it's going to say, show me all my fees, because the difference between a fee and payment in CourtReserve is you may have fees that you've posted to a member's account that you haven't collected yet. So you still want to see that revenue reported. So this is why you would want to key off the fee, okay? So if I was to look at the current month here, you can see that I am looking at all fees. We have 3 different fees in CourtReserve. We have the regular fee, the membership fee, and the miscellaneous fee. So as you can see here, I'm only concerned about the paid fees, because the unpaid fees doesn't show me anything right now, because I just want to see the fees that I've collected. So if I choose that, then that's going to show me every fee that's in the system that's been paid and what that amount is for that particular time frame. Now, if I wanted to see sort of overall sales, paid or unpaid, then I would uncheck this box, and then I'm going to start seeing a mixture of paid fees and unpaid fees. And you can see here the pink is indicative of something a fee that's not been paid. So as you can see now, I'm pivoting the data around total sales and total things that are, all these fees have been posted during the month of November, but nothing has been, some of these have not been collected. So this is, you know, I'll show you in a minute how you can see the difference between what you've collected and your receivables in another report, but this is going to be a number that you can look at a broken down level to see your total number of transactions across time, whether it's paid or unpaid. Okay. Now, a couple of things to point out here. As you can see, if I wanted to group any of this, all I have to do is take a category or take a column header and move it over here. So if I wanted to group this, let's say by member, I could grab the member and drop it here. And now you can see all of the transactions are grouped by the member name. So this is a great way to see, and to maybe you want to pivot the data and you want to do this. Now, if I wanted to pivot on something else, I can just clear that. I can clear that off and say, hey, I want to group by category. So if you want to see category, this is where you can see all of your transactions for a particular clinic. You can see all of your membership dues all grouped together. You can see all of your, you can see everything by category. So that's just something I wanted to point out as far as grouping in the reports. Now, you can also, if you see, you can also export any of this information to Excel by just clicking the export grid. You can also search. So this is a great way if I'm just searching, hey, if let's say Tim walks in and I just need to search on his transactions, you can see I can do a quick search right here, and now I can filter just the transactions that are related to Tim. Now I can also click on his name, and that's going to take me to just his account, and then I can go to the billing information and sort of see that same information. But this is all transactions, not necessarily the transactions within this time frame or this criteria up here. Okay. So let me just, yeah. All right. So there's also these 2 actions here for fees. If they are unpaid fees on these accounts from this report, we actually give you a quick way to pay or void the fee. So I won't get into what paying and voiding means. I just want to let you know that if you do want to pay or void unpaid fees from this transaction list, you can do that here. So it's just a quick way. You can also do that in bulk. So if I wanted to select multiple fees and needed to pay or void off multiple at a time, I can check all of those off and then click the pay or void button up here. Okay. And then lastly, if I wanted to see some additional information based around this particular fee or payment, I can always click the plus sign to get to more detailed information around a particular transaction. Okay. And so that's transaction list. And that's again where you're going to go if you want to see a full breakdown of transactions in a given month or across different sets of criteria. Okay. Now there's other criteria here that I didn't really mention. If you are an organization that uses taxes, you can always click on the show taxes and you can see the tax breakdown line now. Okay. So that's a new feature that we've recently added. You can also choose to see the partial fees. And then Here's where you could break down fees by member. You could see if you wanted to just look at your private lesson, you can see here. Now I can see all of my fees just for private lessons across all of my memberships, or across all of my members, sorry. So you can see there's a number of different ways you can pivot the data. It's a pretty powerful report, okay? All right, so next we're gonna move into the sales summary. This is, in my opinion, our most powerful and most highly utilized report from a financial data standpoint. This is gonna give you a bunch of different snapshots into your financial health. So I'm gonna start out here and show you, if I set it, most of the time people say, Tim, support, you know, or go into our support team and say, I just want to see a snapshot of how I did financially across the given month, across the given week. And I want to see it for paid and unpaid fees. And I want to only capture that revenue or capture that data for things that happened in the month of, say, October. So if that's the case, then it's important to key off this reservation date from and reservation date to. And I'm going to explain why in just a second that you don't want to use transaction date and transaction date to, okay? Because transaction date from and transaction date to is the date that the fee was posted to the account, okay? And you're going to see that in just a second, because right here, if I go reservation date from and reservation date to, and look here, this is going to show me across my revenue I cannot believe I forgot to talk about revenue categories. I did not follow my agenda. Let me back up and go into that, because that needs to be talked about before this will make sense. So for those that are using financial data in CourtReserve, it's very important during your setup, if you haven't done this already, underneath settings, to look under revenue categories. Revenue categories is a way that you can categorize all of the different revenue inside the platform. That way you can roll up all of your memberships under one revenue category called membership dues. You can roll up all of your different types of clinic under one revenue category called adult clinic. So you can see here, this is an easy way to categorize revenue, so that when then you go and report on this revenue, you can see it broken down at a higher level, especially so that it can match your accounts receivable software. So if you're using QuickBooks or Xero or some other type of software, and you want to make your bookkeeper or accountant happy, this is how you can manage to categorize that revenue in the same way that you have your accounting software set up. Okay, so sorry about missing that and mentioning that. I fell off the agenda there for a second, but that's revenue category. So if I jump back over to the sales summary, it's important now that you see this revenue reported for the month of October at the revenue category level. So you can see all of those previous revenue categories that I set up. I can now report, hey, I did 1,240 of membership dues. I did 408 for court reservations, etc. Now, this output type is how you can, if you want to get more granular and see it at a more detailed level, then you can go summary here, and now it's going to break down all of your different reservation types and show you the revenue. It's going to break down all of your different membership fees if you had multiple ones and show them to you. If it's going to break down all of your different event categories and show you how you, so this is how you're going to pivot between the detailed categories and the revenue categories. Okay, so if you're the tennis director, you may like to see it, or the operations director, you may want to see it this way. If you're the bookkeeper or the accountant, they may want to see it this way, because this is how they're entering those revenue numbers into the books. Okay, so notice here, these names of these categories are blue and linkable. So this is a drill down opportunity. So if you saw 2412 and you wanted to see the detail of that, you simply click this, and this is going to show you how that 2412 was collected. Now, this is the key thing. Look here at the date time. This is everything. Again, as I said, I want to see all of the revenue that happened in October. Okay. So look at the date time. These are all the clinics in October. So this is only going to show data. If I sort here by date time, you can see it's going to start on October 1st and go all the way through October 31st. Okay. Now look at the trans date though. See, the trans date has dates that were in, if I look, I may have stuff that was pre-purchased well in advance or, or the month of. And so if I was reporting off the trans date of October, I would only be getting those items that actually were sold in the month of October that didn't actually happen. So if I signed up for a clinic in October and that's the only fees and payments I would see in this report. So that's why it's important that now sometimes you may want to see that. And if you do, that's when you want to put in here. So if you see here, I have a number of $11,000. That's how much I actually collected for things that happened in them. And I know this says reservation date, but this also means any membership dues that were posted in the month of October and any point of sale transactions that was actually purchased in the month of October. So watch this number decrease as I change the date here. So if I do current month here, or let's go to last month, sorry, this number is going to go down by $1,000. So this tells me that's why it's very important that you understand the difference here. So what this report is telling me is now I'm going to look at these adult clinics and you're going to see the date time here, all be August, but look at what you see here. These are only the items that were posted to the ledger in the month of October as well. So a very important distinction there. We get it all the time. Tim, I have a feeling the sales numbers don't match because they don't realize that the transaction date is actually the date that the fee was posted to the account. So again, if you want to just see your true number, you want to make sure that these are off. And then what I would recommend is you set this up and then you save that filter and just say monthly sales. And then that way you're covered. And just make sure that your fee status is all, because you may want to see, all of your revenue, whether it was collected or not collected. Now, if I wanted to make sure, if I was doing this report in November, looking at this report, this data, and I wanted to see, hey, what's still on the books as a receivable, then I would change this to unpaid. So now it's going to flip over and show me that I got 49 sitting in my accounts receivable. These are aged, right? Because these are fees that this has come and gone. October's come and gone. These clinics have come and gone. These lessons have come and gone. But I still have $340 that people have not paid for. So if you see, if I click on lessons, here are my $340 worth of lessons, excluding this refund, that have not been paid. So I need to go see Dakota and figure out why it's now November 25th and he still owes me for all these lessons. Okay. Now, if I wanted on the flip side of that to see the paid state, to see all the fees that were, that I truly collected, here is $11,106 worth of payments that I collected. Then, nope, I messed up. If I say paid here, here's the $6,996 that I physically collected in the month of October. Okay. So now you're starting to see the difference in how you can massage and pivot this data. So, it's very clear. It's good that you're coming to this because, you really need to understand this from the financial side so that it doesn't confuse you or you get the numbers that you're trying to get to. Okay. And again, it's very important that when you get these numbers the way you want, save them. It's important. If you look at my save filters up here, this way I can see and I can quickly get to my receivables. I can quickly get to my monthly sales. And we have talked as a team, and what we're going to try to do very soon in the future is give you these reports out of the box so that you can see, you can just load up your total sales and it will pre-configure everything so that we can sort of help guide you to the right, the right filtering to get to what you need. All right. So a couple other things here. You can also, let's say you want to just look at what you collected in October, but necessarily maybe it didn't necessarily happen. Maybe you want to see what you physically collected, but maybe you collected on some back stuff in September, or maybe you collected on some future stuff in November. So let's walk through that scenario. So in that scenario, I'm going to actually say, hey, I want to see everything that I collected in October. So I'm going to set the dates like this. All right. And then I'm going to clear out these dates. Okay. So now that shows me $9,659. Now, previously you saw when I did the paid, it was 6,000 and something, but that was because I was only looking at things that happened in the month of October. Now I'm looking at everything that was collected physically. I actually took in the payment between 10/1 and 10/31, whether it was posted in September. It doesn't matter when it's posted. This is when it was collected. So you can see now, if I look at any of these numbers, then this number is, the pay date is all going to be in October. The trans date will be different. The date time will be different, but the pay dates will all be in October. Okay. So I hope this is all starting to get a little bit more comfortable. Obviously this is going to be recorded. I highly encourage you guys to watch this again to let all of this sink in, because there's multiple different ways that you can get financial data from this sales summary that you need to understand, and make sure you understand all the different criteria to get what you need. Okay. And then again, lastly, you also can get specific. So if you're, let's go back out and just load up my monthly sales again. So this is my monthly sales. Let's say I just want to look at a particular group of reservations. Let's say I just want to see what I made in doubles. So I can see right here, I made $60 in doubles. So if somebody says, hey, how much court time are we spending on doubles? You can easily do that. Or maybe how much time, how much lessons am I given? If I just want to see how many pickleball lessons. So some of this data, I don't have any information on, but you can also see events the same way. How much money did I make on pickleball clinics this month? 4,038. Wow. And then you can compare that to, it's probably going to be better if you look at the summary when you're looking at this, because then you can compare maybe your pickleball clinics versus your cardio tennis clinics. And so now you can have wow, we probably need to offer more pickleball clinics because we're making about 3 times as much money than we are when we're doing cardio tennis. So it's a good way to look at the financial health, see which programs are performing, see which ones are not, and then make adjustments in your club or your business to correct those and remedy that information. Okay. And then lastly, if you wanted to see your revenue numbers at the instructor level, you can see, you can put an instructor in here, and then it will pivot that data and show you exactly, based on that instructor, how much that instructor generated across all of the different offerings at your facility. Okay. And then if you wanted to see your tax breakdown, again, we added this recently. This is going to show you your total tax. So obviously, if you wanted to see for your sales tax report, you just check that box and that will introduce a tax line here. Also, if you notice, if I'm doing this by refunds, you can see if I do this, uncheck the refund line, this number changes. And then if I include this number gets a little lower. So it's important to know that we're going to back out the refunds. It's if you wanted to see what your total revenue is, including your refunds, that's why we default this to be checked, but just make sure you check this so that this is not going to be a false positive number here. Okay. Awesome. Well, I hope that clears up the sales summary. Again, this is going to be your go-to financial report. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you go here to get all of the different and pivot around all the different data that you can do. And it's, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. We can talk more about them at the end of the webinar, but I'm going to continue for the sake of time. I'm going to go ahead and press forward. So the next one is payment summary. This is really a pretty simple report. It's really just a way to see how things were paid. So if I look at the month of October, I can break it down to see how much cash, how much, checks I took in, anything paid off with a credit balance, and then my credit card or ACH payments. Okay. Now, if I wanted to include the refunds, I could, and it will actually show you those refunds broken down. And then if I wanted to see the amount of credits that I put on people's accounts, then I can break that down as well. Okay. Now, the end of day report is really it was very close to the payment summary, but this is the one that most of your point of sale users will use to just do the end of day to know their register should have this much cash in it. They took this many checks. They processed this many credit cards. And this is the report that can get you to that particular information at the user level. It's also important to note that there's a quick, if you are using point of sale and somebody is closing up at the end of the day, we do have a quick way to get to that end of the day report. So if I'm logged in as Tim at my cash register, I can just click this end of day report and it's going to take me right to the end of day, default it to be me. And then I can even send this information to a receipt printer, print it right off to that receipt printer, spit it out, staple it to whatever report you want. And then that way I have when the back office person looks at or cashes out the till, they will be able to see what should be in that register at any given time. Okay, so that's the end of day report. The daily revenue is just a really good report to visually see data. So if I go back to the month of October, if you like graphs and you like to see how you're trending across time, to see which days seem to be more important, we're going to try to do more of this visualization around the numbers in future releases. So this is just a way for those that like lines and charts and graphs to see that. Online payments here is a great report to see just a breakdown real quickly of people or payments that were made from the web portal or the mobile app. So that way you don't have to go in transaction list to try to find, if you just want to come here, it's going to real quickly show you, the payments that were made today. And then you can open it up and see the receipt. You can see the details. You can see the confirmation code. So if you are using Stripe or one of our other providers and you need to do something or research something in that other system, your payment system, then this is the code that matches the ID of that payment in their system so that you can have it for cross-referencing purposes. Okay. So this is just a good way. Of course, this is searchable, and it's just a neat little report that will allow you quick insight to people that pay online. Okay. Now, refunding, all of these other options here, these are not actual reports. These are transactional functions that are in our system where refunds is where you go to handle refunds. The back office team handles refunds. Batch billing for those that are using us to do statements and invoicing. That's that. Post fees is a way to mass post fees. I'm not going to cover those at all in this webinar. I'm just going to jump over real quickly and show you the sales tax report and then jump over to point of sale and end with that. So this is your sales tax report. So at any given month, this is what you will look at and print out and hand to your accountant to see the taxable sales broken down and the dollar amount of tax you collected and that you owe on. So right now in CourtReserve, remember we only tax point of sale items, reservation types, court time, lessons, and memberships. We do want to complete that cycle and put events and event categories in there, and that is on the docket for some time in early part of 2021, so that you then can sort of tax anything in the entire platform. Okay. And then lastly, those that are using point of sale, if I click on point of sale, there's a subset of reports here. The item sales report is going to give you a breakdown of all of the items that you've sold in your little retail store. It's going to show you the gross sales, your taxes, and then show you your profit margin or show you your profit line. The category sales is going to be a way that you can see based on your item categories which ones are selling the most of, what your net sales are. And again, those same lines, you can also break this down. Your evaluation report is going to show you your percentage of asset to value, your percentage of your total value, your retail value, just your inventory reports that you would want to see as part of inventory management. And then the sales tax report, again, this is just another way to get to that report. And then the payment summary is just a copy of what that report that I already showed you. We just have it here as well.